Yo, what's up everybody, Swillow here, and today we have our first guide for the new DLC pack, Okiku. So let's look at Okiku's action list real quick before we get into skills and the moveset and all of that. Okiku is also known as Hikunojo of the Lingering Snow. Fittingly, she is able to use several attacks which freeze her enemy, one of the best effects in the game by the way. Use square after a charge attack to enter a sword drawing stance, causing her next attack to deal increased damage. So there's something ambiguous about this statement here in terms of boosting damage. However, this stance is really good in terms of canceling as well. So even without factoring in the boost damage, there's a lot of value in this stance, which we'll go over when we get into the guide. So we have our square attack string. Triangle is going to be one of the best moves right here, all around for all purpose damage, crowd control, everything. And as we can see here, it has the freeze effect on it. It also has the smash effect on it, so it's just stacked. Next, on square times 3 into triangle, we're going to get smash properties. Square times 4 into triangle, we're going to get smash properties. Square times 5 into triangle is going to give us freeze properties. And then square times 7 into triangle is going to give us smash properties. In the air, you're going to get a lot of freeze properties. Basically, all of her aerial strings have freeze property, except for square times 3 into triangle, which has its own perks, which we'll go over. Anyways, let's go look at the special moves. So Okiku has 6 special moves. I would say they're all pretty decent, but there is like Flash the Snow I do find to be kind of weak, and her 2 Muso special attacks, they're both pretty good, and at the same time there's one that's definitely kind of better than the other, but we'll definitely go over that. Let's look at the skills list. So this is my favorite build with Okiku right now. Basically, Okiku is kind of unique as a speed type. She's one of the few speed types that really emphasizes triangle attack damage as opposed to square attack damage. She has some really good triangle options. We have Cheat Death, which is a staple damage booster. Resilience, because full force burst means everything for her, so we want that extended full force burst duration. Hero Strength is going to boost your attack string, another staple alongside Cheat Death for getting more damage. Full force burst enhancement, yet another staple for more damage. And then Concentration, this is a pretty interchangeable skill, I feel. Concentration, she has great R1s, so I do bring Concentration just so I can like churn out these really good R1s more often. But sometimes you don't really need it. Like, she builds meters so effectively that it can be kind of overkill. Let's look at some other options we can use though. Square attack enhancement still has a lot of value just by being a speed type. You know, speed types get a lot of value out of square attack enhancement because of how long their square strings are and how fast they are. Airborne Adept could be solid. She has some good air options. Undying is a good move if you want more defense. So Great Pirate's Ear. I've heard good things about this skill. I haven't actually used it, but she does have the freeze effect, and this allows you to get the freeze out a lot faster. However, I feel like she can freeze pretty effectively even without this, so I've never just felt a desire to use it. But it's worth mentioning because this is something out of the ordinary, a skill that we don't normally get to see in builds. So definitely consider that if you just want to have the maximum freezing capabilities. We have Giant Killer. This is going to be a staple if you're on giant stages. And I would say that's about it. You know, you could definitely pick other things based on your preference, but I think those are all of the skills that are very valuable in terms of utilizing her key strengths as a character. So let's get right in here. Alright, so first we're going to look at our buttons. We got square, triangle, or we should say triangle first. So triangle, this is just a nice projectile. It goes really, really far. Like, this thing just goes. It can, especially when you do the enhanced version of it, it can just go and hit things that you feel like are not even on screen. So it's pretty crazy, really good. Next we have square triangle. So this is a pretty standard launcher. There's nothing really insane about it, but you can jump cancel after it. It does what it does, but I don't think it's like a move that I really use often. Square, square, triangle. So this is a pretty nice move, like, especially once you go into full force burst and you can use its enhanced version. This becomes one of her moves that can armor break instantly. And it's a pretty fast attack, so like just the speed of it especially on the follow-ups, are pretty good. And it doesn't launch the enemy, so you can follow up in a lot of different ways easily. Next, we have square times 3 into triangle. So this is like her first pretty nice crowd control option outside of triangle. A nice circular move, kind of a throwback to Tashigi's moveset in a way. Pretty solid. This also has smash properties as well, so if you use this in the middle of like a pretty beefy crowd, you can get a lot of collateral damage off of that. Next, we have square times 4 into triangle. So this is like a flurry. I would say this move is not as strong as I would want it to be, but it does get the job done, and it does have smash properties, so if you line it up effectively, you can actually get like a really nice, like especially in a hallway type setting, if you've got a lot of enemies lined up, this can be a good move for launching a lot of enemies into each other. Square times 5 into triangle. So this was the first move for charge attack besides the triangle that is able to freeze. So this is a pretty good string if you're trying to set up for a freeze or just get some kind of freeze effect going, anything. So this is one of the strings I use the most with her. Square times 6 into triangle. So this is like one of my favorite moves animation wise. Let me show this off again. I don't know, there's something about these spinning sword slashes that they just make me feel some type of way. And we've been seeing them in some recent Musou games like Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. Link has those. Anyways, that was off topic, but you know, I love that spinning animation. It's one of my favorite animations, so I use this move a lot just because it looks pretty sick. In terms of actual utility, I would say like it's a good damage option before you go into like follow-ups like a jump cancel or something, and especially once you go into full force burst, it becomes one of the good strings to use to potentially just finish an enemy off with all the extended follow-ups. So it's pretty good. Like, it doesn't have any outstanding properties, it just looks pretty cool. It is easy to follow up after. Next we have square times 7 into triangle. So that's just sort of a little stat, like a dashing flurry into a final stab. Oops. Let me try to show this out of a crowd. So, and then you see there it launches a pretty nice projectile at the end. So when used in like tight corridors or hallway settings, this can deal a lot of collateral damage, get a lot of crowd control. It's a pretty good move in terms of finishing an enemy off once you freeze them. Like, it's a great go-to finisher option. Really good. So now let's go into the air options. You have air triangle. So air triangle, pretty similar to on the ground, just in the air at a downward angle. This has the freeze effect, so this is good for just getting that freeze out there quickly. So I can probably use this in combination with other moves, and there we go, we get a freeze. Normally you have to hit with like 3 freeze moves to get an actual freeze. Next we have square triangle. So square triangle is going to be your dive kick, or one of them, to get back to the ground, so that you can just get convert back to ground options. Really good move. It also has freeze properties as well, and it shoots out a little shockwave, which can deal some crowd control damage. So pretty nice. I like this move a lot. I definitely use it in a lot of my setups. And you can also jump cancel, of course, once you touch the ground to get more air options. Next, we have square triangle. So square triangle is a pretty interesting, almost like a projectile, but she moves along with it, so it just kind of works as a nice forward momentum option. It can hit a lot of enemies in a narrow passage. It does have the freeze effect, and it's pretty easy to follow up after with another power dash cancel or something. Next we have square times 3 into triangle. So this is your other dive kick option. This one does not have the freeze effect. However, it's super easy to jump cancel and follow up further attacks off of. So it's really strong in that sense. Also looks pretty cool. Next we have square times 4 into triangle. This is a fun one. So she's gonna do a little circle motion, and then she's gonna launch an ice tornado out, which moves forward. So this move is really good in terms of, like, the damage on it is not like crazy. It does deal damage over time as the tornado's out. But the main benefits of this, on top of the freezing effect, is that it's good for setting up. So once you put it out there, for instance, let's say I put it out there, let me try to break his armor. I don't know if this is going to work since he knocked me away. So I can set that up, and then I can go back and I can start using things like triangle to set up into a freeze. You know, sometimes the enemy gets launched a little too high to follow up effectively, but usually I put that move out there so that I can go back and start setting up into other things while they're caught in the tornado. So I like that move in that regard. Okay, so next, let's go into full force burst and just take a quick look at some of these immediate perks. So once you're in full force burst, all of your moves are going to get a follow-up. You can do up to 3 follow-ups, or I should say 2. So you get 3 moves total. So basically all of the follow-ups are like a similar animation. It's just that they come out in a quicker succession. And like I said, square, square, triangle, triangle, triangle has instant guard break properties only on the second and third hit. The first hit does not instant guard break, but the second and third hit will. So we can look at all these follow-ups real quick. Some of them, like that move, just get extended duration rather than actual more follow-ups. Same here, you get more forward momentum and longer duration. So there you go, you get 3 loops of that. That becomes really good at killing bosses. You get extended duration on that, really good at killing bosses. In the air, you don't really get extended follow-ups like you do on the ground. Also worth noting is that when you're in full force burst, you're gonna get like freeze effect on all of your attacks to some capacity, so it just becomes even easier to freeze. Now let's talk about the unique stance mechanic. This is where things get really juicy for this character. So once you do a strong attack, you can see that your foot starts to flash, and what you can do is you can press square, and this puts you in a stance. So once you're in this stance, you can go into more square attacks, or you can press triangle, which gives you an enhanced version. So look at the regular version, it just shoots one way forward. The enhanced version is going to shoot waves to the side, and they're stronger, faster, just craziness, absolute craziness. So once you go into full force burst, you can get extra crazy with this with the additional follow-ups, and you can just sort of like loop this over and over. So you can do stance, triangle, 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 stance, triangle, 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 and this just is insane. Like, let me try to find a crowd real quick so you can see how quickly I can just melt a crowd with a strategy like this. Absolute craziness, dude. It's insane. You can also follow up into your square attacks as well. Like, you can use this as a sort of cancel, which is really cool. Like, it's not faster than power dash cancel in a lot of situations. However, it's not so slow that it's not valuable as a cancel. And you also won't be using up stamina, which makes it resource friendly. And on top of that, there's some interesting benefits to it. When you do power dash, for instance, it counts as a hit. Like, it's an actual hitbox. So this could potentially trigger the enemy's red burst easier in situations you don't want to trigger it, or it can even just push the enemy away. Like, whenever you power dash on enemies, it moves them too, and maybe you don't want to move the enemy. So when I use the stance cancel, I can actually just do certain setups that I normally couldn't do. This also becomes really powerful in terms of baiting bosses' bursts. So the red burst mechanic in this game is probably one of the biggest banes in terms of comboing, because the enemies can just burst whenever, and it's just so instant that it's very hard to like dodge it reactively. But with Okiku's ability to sort of like stance cancel and maneuver away and set up stuff and use ranged attacks, you can actually burst bait enemies incredibly well with this character. And pretty much my philosophy is, once you touch an enemy with Okiku, they should just die. Like, if you're doing everything right, they shouldn't get a chance to red burst, or if they do get the red burst, you should already be setting up like a really strong bait. So Okiku is just straight up boss killer. Straight up boss killer. Now another thing you can do in the stance is, when you go into stance, you can run cancel the stance, which gives you an interesting option. So, hold on, let me try to get this. Yeah, once you go into the stance, you can just run cancel. So this gives you exceptional positioning capabilities. So you see, like, I can just run cancel out of that and reposition, or I can just set up something. Let me try to set up a little something right here. Let's go into full force burst. So we stance cancel, we run back, reposition. Now that setup wasn't, I wouldn't say, it wasn't like particularly useful. I could run back to something like this, right? Which is a lot more useful. Now you don't even have to necessarily run canceled and set up like that. Like you could just go straight to it from here. However, you're going to be so close to the enemy that you may whiff, or just like you get yourself in these really awkward situations. So run canceling after certain moves can let you like go back to a comfortable distance and position your next attack in a way that will connect more easily. So this is pretty cool. And I just like the idea of the cancel in general. Like it gives you a lot of movement without using power dash. Like it's just kind of fun to cancel in different ways besides using power dash. So if you're like a cancel fiend, like if you're like a tech and a cancel fiend like I am, like this kind of stuff is a lot of fun. Using the stance cancels, using the run cancels from the stance cancels, stuff like that. Really fun. Now let's start looking at R1 skills. So right now, I have what? Hazy Snow, I Will Close Your Mouth, Lingering Snow, and Full Force Burst. So this is like my favorite setup right here. We'll go show off the other ones as well because they're pretty cool at least. So let's look at R1 Square. This is probably like one of her best moves. So you just do a little slash and then a flurry comes out. Basically this move is strong because of the damage output, and if you use it in the air, it's going to come out faster. You know, this is like similar to a lot of moves in the game. If you can use them in the air, they usually cut the animation down a lot using them in the air. So this becomes like your main DPS move in terms of boss killing. It's going to deal a huge chunk to any boss, and especially if you jump before doing it, it's going to come out a lot faster. Now let's look at R1X. So this is kind of similar to the square times triangle, or square times 4 into triangle in the air, where you put out an ice tornado that just sort of lingers. This can freeze. Once again, this becomes another great move for setting up. You know, you can put it out there, and you can reposition to set up into some other things. Overall, I would say like this move maybe isn't one of her best. You could substitute this for her other like Moveset special, but like I like the setup potential. I like the move in general. It's just a lot of fun to use in the playstyle, so I do prefer to use it over something else. Next, let's look at the Moveset special I have here. So this is a really good one. The damage on it is decent, but even better than the damage, which you're probably not going to see here, is the freeze effect. Yeah, we didn't see it there because the enemies died, but this freezes enemies. So when you get a Moveset special that you can follow up after, this automatically makes it really strong to a certain degree, because a lot of these types of moves tend to be finishers, right? Like you do it and that's it. But this move, not only is it like, it can be a finisher, but it can also just be your starter. Like you can just run into a boss setting and you can just use it. It's gonna freeze the enemy. Let me actually try to show this off, because I see a couple bosses over here. So you run into a boss and you throw this out as like your first attack, and you're just in business already. Like you deal a ton of damage, you freeze them, all that good stuff, and then from there they should pretty much just be dead. Like there should be no hope after that. So our man Kobe here, he's gonna experience all of this. So look how much damage that already did, and he's frozen. So I'm like, I missed like all my follow-ups there, but still killed him. Like he's dead. That's it. Like pretty crazy, to be honest. That actually becomes one of the best Moveset style specials in the game, in my opinion. The damage is actually there, it's very legit, but the freeze effect is the icing on the cake, and it pretty much solidifies a guaranteed kill against mostly any boss. Really good move. So let's go back out and let's look at the other two moves. So I've uploaded a lot of videos. I highly suggest you go check those out. I uploaded like a little combo compilation type thing, so you can see how I use all these different moves. You know, this character, wow, like this character really just reignited my love in playing this game, because I don't know, like there wasn't characters that were really clicking with me the way they did in Pirate Warriors 3. Like there's a lot of characters in Pirate Warriors 3 that I just really had a lot of fun with. That's not to say I didn't have fun with this game or the characters in it, but some of these DLC characters have really just been crazy fun for me, and Okiku is definitely one of those that just like got me so hyped. Like I have so much fun playing as her. Her play style is, you know, it's very fast, it's very fluid. She has a lot of technical depth to her. You know, she's got the interesting cancels. They gave her that unique stance mechanic, which is just something we don't normally see, especially in this game. Or it's not even like a mechanic we've even seen in other Warrior games, at least not in this sort of form, but it's pretty cool. Enjoying this character a lot, and I highly suggest you, if you haven't watched my gameplay videos for Okiku and you're seeing this guide, like definitely go try to watch those so that you can see how I apply all these tools to maximum effect. Alright, so let's see, I forget where I place these moves, so I put it, alright, so we got R1X and R1 square. So let's look at R1 square first. R1 square, this is just going to be like a little dash, and then, you know, they drop down. Dramatic effect. Unfortunately with this move, like the damage is not there. The damage just kind of sucks, which is why I don't use it. I think it's pretty much her worst move, even though it looks so cool, right? It should be like the coolest move, but it's not, because I don't know, like the damage is just not impressive at all. Next, R1X. This is going to be my other Muso style special. So not as strong as the other one, but you can use it in the air. That's going to be a good perk. And something that isn't really like good in terms of utility maybe, but it's kind of cool in terms of styling, is that when it kills a boss, for instance, it doesn't actually kill them till the final hit. So like the whole move will play out against the boss. And then let me try to show this. Let me get Jinbei really weak here. And the move doesn't kill until the final hit. So this can be like a bad thing in terms of Bounty Hunter when you need to get that kill ASAP. Someone could steal your kill pretty easily, but like for cinematic effect, just for like cool points, right? Like it's kind of cool that the enemy doesn't die till the end. So I don't know. It's worth noting for that. Yo, so Jinbei just got knocked out. I don't even think he died, right? Yeah, alright, he got killed. So he got knocked out, he died, but he didn't get the... But as you saw, like, he was pretty much dead before that even finished. His health bar was down to nothing. And he wasn't going to die until that final sheathing moment. But definitely consider that, like, especially in Bounty Hunter, that could hold you back if someone's around and can steal your kill. But it is cool as well because it just guarantees that you always get that flashy, nice finisher, right? So that's pretty cool in its own right. Anyways, that's it for this guide. Leave any comments or questions if you have any. I think I covered everything pretty clearly, and like I said, definitely go check out my other footage of Okiku if you want to see like all this crazy tech in action. Anyways, peace.